please help me welcome Corporal B.J. Sharp.
Thank you, ma'am. Well, good afternoon. They did not tell me I needed to make a video. Okay, so that's not on me. They did not tell me that part. So today, when I walked in, a couple of the ladies at the front asked me, hey, are you going to teach us everything I need to know about an active shooter situation? That answer is no. There's no way to do that in 30 minutes, okay? So there's a course called CRAZE that our department has some instructors in. Other police departments have instructors in that you as a business owner can contact your local law enforcement agency. And they can come out and talk a lot of in-depth about active shooter situations and training and tactics and things that may pertain strictly to your business when they come out and see that. So hopefully today I will get you just doing some thinking about active shooter stuff. And maybe when you go back and you sit at your desk or where you're at and think, if somebody comes in, how can I respond? What can I do? What can I do to protect myself? What can I do prior to somebody coming in? Is there something I can do to harden our target to make it harder for somebody to get in? Those are things that, you need to talk about even as a civilian, even as you're surrounding going to Walmart. And we'll see stuff, as we go through a couple of these slides that, it's just not pertaining to schools anymore. We're going to talk about what an active shooter is, who are active shooters, the locations, the response when law enforcement arrives and how long. And, we're going to look at, it says active shooter events 2000 to 2012. That's not true. That's a typo. I didn't notice that when I was sitting in my car a while ago. That's pretty bad. But, the course goal is when we talk about active shooter stuff is to save as many lives as possible. And when we come out and talk to you, it's to prepare you and hopefully harden your business or harden a target for somebody to come into your business and, actually do some harm or something like that. So, there's a lot of things that can be done that, a lot of people don't think of until somebody sits down from a different perspective and looks at it and says, hey, you can do this or you can do that. One thing, an active shooter, they defined it as one or more subjects who are actively and participating in killing. That's the whole definition up there. The thing is they're not there to do a robbery. They're not there to take hostages. They're there to actually inflict harm, injury, and death on the people that they come in contact with. And usually it's over within 10 to 15 minutes. So that's not a long time that they last. And they're usually over within 10 minutes. So a lot of times is that, that's what you have to think about. And we'll talk a little further as we go down about what it is for law enforcement to respond. Now, when you talk about an active shooter and who may be coming to inflict that harm on you, there is no set profile. It could be a man, it could be a woman. There's no age. It could be young, could be old. There's no race set to it. It doesn't matter the race. There's no type of profile that they can come out and say, hey, your chances of being killed by a white male are this, because they don't exist. Because it's across the board. Every type of person is capable of committing and being an active shooter. They have the Avenger mindset. They have the mindset of they're doing it for a purpose. They're doing it because that's what they believe is right, what they think needs to take place at the time. So it's kind of hard to talk to somebody if you come encounter with somebody that already has that mindset that they are going to inflict this kind of injury or this kind of destruction or harm on people. They are set on it. They are set on accomplishing what they call their goal, what they have set out to do, what they set out to accomplish, and they're going to do that. So there's, like I said, there's no active shooter profile. You can look at it and it says 96% are males. That's one profile to put out there. Only 4% are females. Like I said, early teens to late 80s, they come from all kinds of backgrounds. They feel they have been wronged, and that's a big thing. A lot of y'all own businesses. And so have y'all ever had anybody leave y'all's office mad? Anybody? Nobody here? Nobody? Okay. So, hey, y'all are good then. Y'all are good business owners, So, but a lot of them feel like something has been wrong, and here's the big thing. They're seldomly spontaneous. After they leave an office mad, they go and they plan it out. I mean, there's been studies shown after an incident has occurred that some of these incidents have been planned for years. They've planned them out for years in detail of exactly what they're going to do, when they're going to do it, how they're going to do it, where they're going to place certain bombs, or, what guns they're going to use in this location, who they're going to get to help them. So they're out there. They're out there to inflict as much injury as they can. So, why is the shooter there? The shooter's their main goal is to not escape, but rather kill as many people as possible. And a lot of times people think when the police show up, hopefully they're going to run away and leave. That's not their goal. Their goal is not to do that. Their goal is not to leave. They will wait for law enforcement to get there. A lot of them, yes, will kill themselves prior to law enforcement when we arrive. But a lot of them are there to, suicide by cop or something like that. They're there for us to kill them is what they want done. So, it's a hard thing for us when you think about that. We know when there's an active shooter and we're responding that there's more than likely there's already been death going on. So, and we know that the bad guy's not going to flee, more than likely, that they're still going to be on scene when we arrive there, and that we were going to have to more than likely engage him. So 55% have had some type of connection to where the incident occurred. Okay, so you can say the chances are 50-50 close that the person, when they go to a business or they go to somewhere to conduct an active shooter, to do that, they have been there before. They have some type of connection to that business or to that location, whether it be a school, whether it be, a business, or whether it be a church or something like that. They have been there before. They have some type of connection. And you'll see in one of the slides we'll talk about, they don't always occur in the schools. What do you see on the news media a lot? When an active shooter occurs in a school. And let's be honest, why do we see that? Because there's children involved in it. Okay, that's a lot of media attention. It draws a lot of media attention. But the commerce location, retails, malls, office buildings and stuff like that have the largest percent of having incidents occur at an active shooter incident occurring at them. That's where most active shooters occur is at that location. You can go to the next slide. And you'll see here that over 50% occur at businesses, commerces, and stuff like that. Then you got education places, which is your schools, colleges. You got outdoors, and you have others. So when you think of it, an active shooter location, yes, and a lot of attention, a lot of media stuff goes towards the school because there's kids involved, and it's more devastating when kids are involved or are injured in a situation, but. Don't forget, when you leave here that your chances are higher being in a business or being out, besides at a school, an active shooter incident occurring, whether it be at, Walmart, be at a movie theater, be at a church or somewhere like that. A place of business is more likely is where an active shooter has a 50% chance of actually occurring at. And here's one that always gets a little attention here. So, in the news media, we always talk about, you always hear about the rifle. Rifles are evil. Rifles are bad. All weapons can be used for evil and stuff like that. But rifles are only used in 26% of active shooter situations. Okay, a pistol is used more than in an active shooter situation. Okay, so keep that in mind. If you're sitting at your desk and you see somebody looking suspicious or something like that, don't always be looking for a rifle or something like that, because it's more easier to conceal a handgun than it is a shotgun or a rifle or something like that. It's a whole lot easier to conceal the pistol. And so that's why, but the media, it draws a lot of attention to the rifles and stuff like that. But statistics show that, they're not used in incidences near as much as pistols are. So, when you're looking at somebody, you're not always looking for that rifle or something like that. More than likely they're going to have a pistol just because it's more easier to conceal. Go ahead. So I put a couple of historical events. I put a couple of these in there because, in active shooter situations, can you hear my water? In active shooter situations, they had to change the way law enforcement conducts trainings and the way we look at stuff. And so, with that being said, the tower in there, if anybody of y'all have been to Austin, that's the tower at the university there at Austin. A sniper crawled up in that tower and, kept the police at bay for hours up there. Won't go into a whole lot of details because we don't have the time. But after that incident, law enforcement had to change the way they approached active shooters and incidents, because prior to that there wasn't a whole lot of SWAT teams. So after that incident, law enforcement had to figure out, hey, if that happens again, how are we going to respond to that? How will we respond to that kind of incident if it occurs again? So they had to change their thinking. The bottom picture looks kind of like a cafeteria over there. That's a picture of Columbine. And so that was a big one for law enforcement. We had to change the way we respond to calls and stuff like that. And we'll look at a couple more. We'll look at them a little more as we go along. So one thing I like to do is this next slide. That's the very first school shooting, if you will. It occurred in 1764. That's the first incident where students were actually killed at a school. So that was a long time ago. So it's not just, a whole lot, killings at schools and stuff. That's where I work. So that's where I focus a lot of attention to. Has been going on for a very, very long time. A very long time. But with media and stuff like that, it's getting a whole lot more attention now than it ever has before. Go on. So back to the University of Texas. Of course, it happened in 1966. The man killed his mother and his wife, and then he held at bay, for an hour and a half. That's why, the SWAT teams were formed after that incident. Go ahead. So the Columbine was a big one for us, for law enforcement, because prior to that, when an incident occurred, we would be called out, we'd set up a perimeter, and we would wait for that SWAT team that got developed years ago to arrive and take care of the business, take care of the incident. The problem was with that is, as we learned from Columbine, is a lot of people got killed at that school waiting for SWAT to respond. A lot of people did. The gun were in there for 45 minutes, and that's a long time. That's a long time. So after this incident, law enforcement looked again on, hey, what do we need to improve on? So then we come up with, responses that we need to. We went to 4-officer response. Hey, once you get 4 officers, then you can go. So instead of waiting for SWAT, no longer wait for SWAT, law enforcement arrives, you're going to go in. So go on to the next one. So that occurred. Then Sandy Hook occurred. And this is where stuff started changing for schools. Schools are in the process of hardening their target, making it harder for people to get in and stuff like that. Well, the problem is Sandy Hook, if you go and read it, they kind of did everything right. They did everything that everybody told them they were supposed to do to save them. They had the press the button to come in, you had to be buzzed in, all that kind of stuff. Well, the only problem is the gunman shot his way through the glass to get into the building. And then what happened from what the school did is they did exactly what they've been trained over the years. They went to lockdown, went into a room, locked down into a room. And so prior to this meeting, did everybody know pretty much how a school locks down? I mean, anybody have any idea? I see some heads shaking. Yes. So everybody kind of knows what a school does during a lockdown. So did this guy. So all he had to do was make entry into one classroom, and there was all the kids. And so that's why a lot of children were killed in that incident. So then we had to start looking at, okay, what can we do now to prepare, because this is what happened. So now, going to the next one, Virginia Tech was a big one. Some people were killed, and you can't really go into a whole lot of detail on Virginia Tech, but they go through, when you look at it at Virginia Tech, there was rooms that they didn't do anything. They didn't try to stop the shooter. They did nothing. The shooter just come in, and he took lives. And then there was rooms where kids actually laid on the ground, blocked the door with their feet, piled furniture up and stuff like that. And in those rooms, the survival rate was a whole lot higher. So now in schools and stuff, we're teaching and talking to staff that, hey, especially if you have older kids, have them put furniture and stuff and barricade the doors. Instead of just going and getting to the corner, have them do something else. Have them make it that much harder for somebody to come in. So that's what we kind of learned. We need to we need to have it where the suspect has a whole lot harder time getting into a room to inflict harm onto people. Go ahead. So I'll just put this up there because this could be you and your family going to a movie. This guy was at a movie theater, and this is hopefully once you leave here, if you never really thought about your surroundings when you go out to eat, or you go to a movie, or you see suspicious activities, or stuff like that, to recognize that stuff. And, there was an incident at a school in another county, and a lady thought, an employee thought she had to go tell the principal or some staff leader that, hey, there's a man that just walked across our campus with a gun before 911 was called. Well, I put this up here to say, hey, if there's something suspicious and it really raises the hair on the back of your neck, that's the time to call 911. So we can get en route a whole lot sooner. So we can come out, and if it's nothing, then it's going to be nothing, and everybody goes on, and, nothing. But if it's something that we can prevent from happening, some harm that we can stop, the sooner, the better. And that's just kind of like why I put this up there, because this guy was just at a movie. At a movie. Go ahead. Same thing, nightclub. This is in Florida. If you're ever out on town, this happened at a nightclub. 49 people were killed, 53 injured. Just being aware of your surroundings. There's always a debate: do I carry? Do I not carry? That's your personal preference. That's on you. That's going to be up to you. What you think, what you feel comfortable with, and your ability to do. Go ahead. And so now Sutherland Springs here in Texas. And I put this up here because, you guys are business owners. This was a church, supposed to be the safe place to go to on a Sunday morning, things like that. Well, this guy comes in with his gun, and he inflicts all kinds of some injuries and stuff. But it was another person, a civilian, that actually, got the guy on the run because he engaged him with his firearm. But I'm telling you, these people didn't go to church on Sunday thinking that, hey, there's going to be a gunman coming into my church service and starting to shoot us. And so sometimes as, we get relaxed in our environment, and this is what I encourage you all to go back to your business and think about, is what if somebody come in to our place of business? What would we do? What would we do? So now we're looking at, churches have gone to, they either have law enforcement come in and working their services, or they have security, working now, or they have, different teams, security teams. And same thing with the schools. A lot of you guys know that or if you don't know, a lot of schools in this area, they have guardians now. They're armed staff. 5 years ago or so, 10 years ago, we would have never even been talking about arming teachers in schools. But it's a topic now. Same thing with, going to church. That's something a couple, 5, 10 years ago, you wouldn't, everybody knows that Billy Bob carries because he's the crazy guy in church that has a gun. But other than that, now we're training people in our churches to carry firearms and stuff. So it's just something to think about when you're out there. And so go ahead, next one. So, this is a very condensed version of the class and course and stuff like that. But, now what we're looking at teaching, even in schools and different places, is you run, get away from the threat if you can safely, get out, get away, hide. You may have to hide. You may have to go somewhere, be quiet, stuff like that. But there may become a time that you might actually have to engage the person there to inflict harm. You may have to fight for your life. You may have to do that. Go ahead. And so another way they put it is avoid, deny, and defend. Same concept as run, hide, and fight. Of course, and that's why in some schools, they're teaching, we get people out of the building as quickly as we can. We get people out as quickly as we can. We're teaching people how to, barricade, how to stack furniture in front of a door if you have to. If you have to break your office window to get out, your boss may get mad at you later, but hey, at least you lived through the incident. So it's stuff like that you have to be willing to do. Same thing with fight. You may have to pick up a fire extinguisher. You may have to slap them with your laptop. I don't know, whatever you may have to use. But when it's time to fight for your life, like your life depends on it, because it will. It will depend on that, whether that person's it's going to be you or him. And you have to kind of get that mindset when you're thinking about stuff like that. How am I going to defend myself if this happens where I work, if this happens where I'm at Walmart, if this happens if I'm at the movies or I'm at a restaurant or wherever I may be out and about? What am I going to do to protect myself and my family? And that's kind of what it comes down to. Go ahead. So this is always a question we always get. How long does it take for law enforcement to get to where I'm going to be? The national average is 3 minutes. 3 to 5 minutes is how long it could take for law enforcement to arrive. Now, that's on a good day. And that's if somebody's close. As law enforcement grows and as more officers get placed on the street, that number, can be reduced or be true. But you have a business out in the county or somewhere, it could take a little longer than that. But the national average is 3 to 5 minutes, and I'll have to say that's pretty quick. That is super quick if they get there in 3 to 5 minutes. So that's something else you may have to be thinking about. How long is it going to take before someone arrives to help me? Go ahead. So kind of, not too bad, six minutes left. So, I know this is kind of a big group, and I can answer some general questions. Like I say, if you want to know more about this, it's called CRAZE, Civilian Response to Active Shooters. There are law enforcement agencies out there. I know DPS has guys. We have people at the sheriff's office. Other PDs have officers that are trained to actually come out and be able to speak to you and really answer your questions and sit down with you and your employees and stuff like that and look at the environment that you're in to really answer a whole lot of questions that you may have about what you can do better, what maybe you may need to change and stuff like that. So that's kind of the rundown, the quick version of what we can offer, what we have. Hopefully it really gets you to thinking about, when you're out and about, when you're sitting at your desk, when you're just, in your environment, whatever that may be, what am I going to do? What if this happens? And don't be scared to think about that. Don't be scared to what if it. If this happens, what am I going to do? If I had to fire an employee and they were mad, what if they come back? What are we going to do? You know, stuff like that. It's just something y'all have to think about. So that's kind of all I got. Thank you, ma'am. You're welcome.
So will all the law enforcement officers stand? Hold on, BJ. Can y'all all stand? All the officers that are in the room right now? Thank y'all very much. Come back up here for just a minute. I mean, look at all this garb they have to wear. I mean, that's a lot that can't be comfortable. Bulletproof vest, you've got some kind of camera on here, your guns. I mean, my goodness. Thank you all very much for what you do, keeping us all safe.